Well, you certainly know how to compliment a woman. Well, if you'll excuse me.
Do you know who I am?
No, I can't say that I do.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Really?
People know me.
Well, I'm very happy for you.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Kizzy's Friday Game Changers, taking your business to the next level.
Coming up on Kizzy's Friday Game Changers.
Don't ever believe that you are just one person and you can't make a difference to your life or to the lives of people around you for the better.
And also,
get clear, have clarity about how you want to live your life. Then do the maths, get in control of your finances. And then, of course, if you've got enough money at that point to live the life you want, you're sorted.
Hi, this is Ray Zinn.
Hi, I'm Jamie Martin from Ideal Shopping Direct.
I'm Kate Bell, founder of Zip Us In.
Hi, my name is Eirik Eide Patterson. I'm a co-founder of Seaborg Technologies.
Hi, I'm Katie Farrell, transformation coach, founder of The Catalyst for Life.
Hey everybody, I'm David Frangioni, CEO and co-founder of All Access IDA Inspire and Develop Artists, and you're listening to Kizzy's Friday Game Changer. Check it out.
Welcome to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers
with your host Kizzy Wusche,
a show for innovators and motivators, people just like you.
Kizzy is the publisher of Business Game Changer magazine and the property investor, editor of the successful Women in Business book series
and the best-selling Every Entrepreneur's Guide series.
Every week, Kizzy and his guests provide you with the tools you need to take your game-changing business to the next level.
Listen, learn, and innovate.
Now meet your host, your mentor, and your fellow game changer, Kizzy Wusche.
Hello and welcome to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers. My guest this week, Vicki Wusche, started investing in property way back in 2008 and has since been named in the Daily Telegraph's top 25 most influential people in property in the UK. Now, Vicki is an inspiring mentor, speaker, author of 5 books. Yep, 5 books, and was a finalist in the Business Book Awards in March 2020. For the last 5 years, Vicki is focused on helping people restructure their relationship with money so that their money works for them. Brilliant. In just a few minutes, I'll be talking to game changer Vicki Wusche to uncover her secrets of financial success. Don't go away.
I'm Brian Stolley, founding partner of Wildcat Venture Partners.
Hey, Tanja Lee here, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. I'm a leadership and mindset specialist for real estate and property professionals.
Hi, I'm Jonathan from Amplify.
Hi, I'm Johnny Combe, CEO of Pay by Phone UK.
I'm Kenneth Hafianyo, the founder of Jogwefa, an ethical fashion brand based in Ho, Volta region, Ghana. My Friday is never the same without Kizzy's Friday Game Changers.
Welcome to the show. This week I have the honour and privilege of breaking bread with property expert Vicki Wusche. Now, Vicki runs both a property training and a property sourcing business and offers business consultancy with a focus on creating a wealthy life. Her property investor clients typically earn around 10 to 12 per annum on money invested. Can't say any fairer than that. But before we jump into today's conversation, I've been taking a note that I've got to take a pause for the cause. I've been asked to remind you that Money and Finance magazine is producing the definitive showcase. That's what it says, the definitive showcase celebrating the very best 10 finance specialists. The Editor's Choice Top 10 Finance Specialists 2021 covers those extraordinary financial advisors, coaches, accountants, and investment specialists who've made an outstanding contribution to their business sector or customer's enterprise. For information about how to nominate yourself, a colleague, or a client for inclusion in the Editor's Choice Top 10 Finance Specialist 2021. Email hellomoneyandfinancemagazine@outlook.com. That's it. Job done and the bills have been paid. Vicki, it's amazing to have you join me.
Thank you very much, Kizzy. I'm really looking forward to this. What I imagine is going to be a crazy conversation.
Do you know what? I'm so looking. I'm beside myself. There's two of us. I'm beside myself. We're twins now. Let's start at the beginning, Vicki.
Yeah.
When did you first recognize property as the best strategy for creating your financial security and a wealthy life?
That's a really good question. I think it's easy with hindsight to go, actually, it was there a lot longer than I knew. When I was actually first consciously aware of it was probably about 2004. When we went along to an event, because my sister told me we were old. We were only somewhere in our, I don't know, mid-late 30s, something like that. And she said we were old, we need to go and find out about pensions, and met a guy who talked about property. And that was the first conscious moment. But then when you start to become aware of something, you suddenly realize that you don't have the language. Well, now what we do is Google it. So I didn't have the language to Google property investment because I didn't know there was a thing called property and investment. I knew there were people that built skyscrapers in cities and things, but I didn't know that it was something that ordinary people like us could do. So I didn't have the language to then search for the information. And once it came onto my radar, I realized, goodness, I have been like on the edge of property investment probably since I was about 18, 20, but it was just slightly out of focus, slightly in the peripheral vision, never quite coming forward to the front so that I could really attack it and go for it.
It's really weird, isn't it? Because you think that when we're in school, the teachers will make a priority of teaching us financial literacy and also the need to become financially dependent at a relatively early age. But that's something that you rarely ever hear about in schools or colleges.
Absolutely not. I had to bite my finger there before I exploded over the top of your point. No, that drives me insane. But I also wonder whether it's not, I don't know, do we want to go down a conspiracy conversation or a practical? I cannot understand when our entire planet is driven by money and we talk about how money is circling the globe, and it doesn't really matter what you want to think, unless you are off grid, and I mean 100% off grid, eating off the land with no money and seeing no one. Money is in your life, and all money is a form of maths, and we have to teach the kids maths at school. Why aren't we relating those maths lessons to money lessons? Why aren't kids leaving school understanding the implication of interest on something that they buy, or when they go to the supermarket, how buying something on a special offer isn't necessarily right? You need to look at the little tickets and look at the, per kilo price. And I do honestly believe that the only answer can be because they want to keep our kids and us ignorant of how money works.
As you're speaking, I'm nodding my head like crazy here because I'm thinking exactly. I think that if they educated people, educated students and kids and even adults as to how important money really is, there'll be very few people willing to take out massive loans and credit cards and, working at a job that they really, really hate, but they're doing it because they've got to pay a mortgage on a property that they can't afford. Who would want to do that if they knew any better?
Oh, and that's my whole point. That is the point of a wealthy life. We are taught from school that you have to go to university. What's the first thing university does for you? A, get you drunk for an entire year and just rack up debt because you have to pay the fees. But not only are you racking up debt in terms of the fees, you're draining your parents of money because they 9 times out of 10 are supporting the young people that are in school because there's very few maintenance allowances or grants. But on top of it, you're spending 3 years in an establishment where you are not earning money. So you're not only losing money in terms of the fees, you're losing the opportunity to earn money. And what people don't understand is that if you don't pick wisely when you take your university degree. You're double charging yourself. Now, if you're going to be a doctor, yes, you have to go to university, a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer, a scientist. But I mean, who thought that a Harry Potter degree is a sensible thing to do? You know, and most things, and I used to teach this when I was a university lecturer, most things require creativity, entrepreneurialism, the ability, I hate that word, that's so hard to say, the opportunity to, the ability to spot opportunities, and then the ability through maths to take calculated risks. Teach kids that. That's a 6-month course, and then they can apply their creativity in whatever sector they want to go into. And we don't need universities, not for silly degrees, a business degree, you know. And I used to teach this stuff, a business degree. It was a waste of 3 years of someone's life. It really was.
Amazing. I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of months ago, I think it was, and she was saying that she's just she did a course in university. She's Welsh, and she did a course in the Welsh language. And I said, now that's interesting. What are you going to do with it? She said, I'm not sure, but I might go and get a job at the supermarket. And I thought, really?
Yeah, I know. Well, we've got a niece at the moment, and we were talking, and I, you know, you might have noticed I'm slightly opinionated. So last summer we were talking about her choices, and she was thinking about going to university. She didn't really know what she wanted to do, but she thought she would take psychology. And I went, go traveling, see the world, experience life, then decide what you want to do as a career, and then decide what is the career pathway that I need to follow. And if what you decide is to be a lawyer or an accountant, a scientist or whatever, and therefore the obvious choice is to go to university and study the theory of the topic that you are going to apply, go for it. But she's studying psychology, and it was almost as if I had some sort of like witch's second sense, because she starts university in September 2020, smack in the middle of a pandemic. I think when she finally went to university, she went for 4 weeks and they were locked in their pod. So she's had no freshers experience. She's had no first year making friends experience. She's had most of her lessons online, alone, in her bedroom, back home with her family, while still paying for a university accommodation at the uni, you know? And I just think it's ridiculous the way we do things. And why do the university students need 10 weeks off in the summer? Now, I was a lecturer, so I do understand the pressure the lecturers are in, but if you want to do this, employ more lecturers, condense all the degrees down to 2 years, put them online and have kids come in and have, you know, a 6-week or something intensive practical session in each year or whatever. There's so many things that we could be changing for the better. And one of the key things is, how do you want to live your life? You work out what you want as a priority for you. Is it time with your children? Work out how to manage your money and put the two things together, and then make your choices. Don't just get swept along with all this university debt. Then you have to buy a house, debt. Then you have to have these shoes, debt. And then you're trapped. You're trapped.
Very wise words. I'm thinking that when I'm made Prime Minister, which could happen any minute now, I'm going to put together a cabinet, and I think I'd want you as my finance minister. Are you up for it?
Do you know what? It's so funny that you said that, Kizzy, because I always play that game when I have these conversations and I can find someone that bites. I always say maybe we're the twins. When I'm Prime Minister, you can be my finance minister, you can be my education minister, and you can be my health minister, and we're going to just change this, really. And maybe it'll come. Maybe there'll be a big shake-up in our politics, but it might take another generation to do it.
It might take another generation, but with you and I working together, we won't just change the world. We'll probably end up saving it.
Yeah, and that's what it needs, isn't it? That's what it needs. Very, very sad and very poignant that as we're recording this, they're in the UK, they're just going down to Cornwall to have their, G7, I think it is, and discussing climate change. And we all know that with the pandemic on the table, it's going to be interesting how much of a look climate change needs. But with all of the programs that you can just search online for yourself, from Seaspiracy to everything, we know that we need to be making a difference. And sometimes we think, and I think this is because we're taught by this in society, that we are just one person and we cannot make a difference. And all I want to say to you is, Greta Thunberg, don't ever believe that you are just one person and you can't make a difference to your life or to the lives of people around you for the better. Because if one young girl with a spectrum of her ability to communicate with others is able to galvanize the world and school children into the Friday strikes and everything else, then quite frankly, if we all don't make an individual little effort, then we're letting ourselves and the planet down, aren't we?
I hear you. Very wise words. I'm thinking in my intro, I mentioned how you help people identify and leverage unrecognized resources. Vicki, what are unrecognized resources and how do I identify them?
Do you know what? For some people, it is just back to money because they've never managed their money. They don't really understand what they've got, what they need. So if I just do the money one, first of all, if you look at your personal expenses, there are, and let's talk in business terms, there are fixed costs, which even if you don't have to get out of bed, you have to pay these things. So that is the mortgage or the roof over your head. So the mortgage or the rent, you have to pay that. You have to pay the council tax, the gas, the electric, the water bills. You have to pay that. Your personal life insurance really is advisable, and you will have to have paid for the food that's in the fridge. So it's your basic costs. Now you have to pay that whether you get out of bed today or you don't get out of bed today. So if you start to think about those bills as your basic costs, how much money is enough to cover those basic costs? That's all, enough. Not luxuries on the top, not meals out, not takeaways, not holidays when you can have them or new clothes, Spotify or any of that stuff. Straightforward. How much money is enough to cover your basic bills? When you know that number, you will be surprised at how little money you actually need. Now, you can have more than enough money if you want. You can even have much more than enough money if you want. And most of the people listening to this podcast will have enough money, and probably 75 to 80% of them will have much more, if not more than enough money. Okay. But once you understand how much is enough, you can then start to go, all right, well, in order to earn enough money, I only actually need to work 2 days a week. Now, what sort of life do I want? Is it important to me that I add in a trip to the theatre when you're allowed, a takeaway meal, and I want £100 shopping bill, on luxuries and anything that I want to spend on a month. So then that would mean I'll have to work another day a week. Do I want to now work 3 days in order to live that life? Or do I want to work 2 days and not have to work the extra day? Or do I want more in my life so I'm prepared to work 4 days? And when you start thinking about the time that you have to give up to earn the money, you can start to make more informed decisions. Now imagine that you are a young family with children. Imagine that you are, and in most cases, the mother stays at home with the children, the partner, whether this is a husband or another partner, they tend to have to carry on going to work and they are the breadwinner. All the pressure's on them to earn the money. They think that they have to earn a lot of money and then they can't see their newborn child. They can't be with the child bar the basic couple of weeks that they're given as parental leave. But if they knew about their money, maybe they could make a different choice. So you've got money in that. You've got time in that. And then start looking at, once you're under control there, if you know how you want to live your life, what other resources do you have? Do you have savings? Do you have underperforming assets? Do you have underperforming investments? Do you have knowledge that you are not leveraging? Do you have contacts that you are not drawing on and using to help you create the life you want? And that's it. So it's a conversation that takes you from clarity, what is it that I want in my life, through to control, where am I with my money, resources to understand what you've got and what you're not using and what is working for you and what isn't, and then leveraging what's not working for you to the point where you can ultimately create the life you want and leave a legacy, a positive legacy for those in your wake.
So, but I'm thinking that before we go from clarity to control, we start off with a particular type of mindset or attitude towards money. Am I right in thinking that a lot of our attitudes towards money would be picked up or inherited from our parents, maybe?
Oh, yeah. And school and society and all over the place. And that's, you know, I suppose that's why I've written the books I have, is to try and break that thinking. You know, I think there is a bit of a myth. I haven't actually ever spoken to someone who really thinks that rich people are bad or that money's evil. I think that's folklore. I mean, that's really maybe our grandparents or our great-grandparents speaking. I think for most people now, it's actually less about, if you like, the mindset of money specifically, and more about the mindset of how they have to live their lives. They think that they have to go to work. They think that they have to buy stuff, and then they buy so much stuff that they have to rent, you know, an off-site container in which to keep everything, you know. So there's all this going on. And I think that we're driven by a media image of what life should be like, and what the horrendous, if you like, shock of 2020 showed us, that a hug is more important than maybe a new pair of trainers or anything. You know, I know that I was speaking to one of the girls that works for me, and she's going home to have her first hug with her parents since March last year, because now she can go home and she can hug them, and she can feel that she's not going to be at risk to them. You know, so I just think that we can start to get different priorities. And if you look back over the way society has been for maybe the last 20 years, fast, quick, cheap, you know, you can go to, I won't name shops, but you can go to some shops and you can pick up a T-shirt for, say, £4. Well, who do you think made that for £4? Some poor child in some foreign country in some sweatshop? Are we thinking about that? And you're buying that food. How cheap is it? Why is it so cheap? Because the farmer isn't being paid really enough money that it's worth it. We always used to think farmers were rich, but if you watch the programs about farmers, they're really struggling to produce the quality food that we should be eating. And if we ate better food, then we wouldn't have the physical poor health that we have. We wouldn't be the drain on the health services that we are, and then we can stop that cycle. There's so many things that we can change for ourselves when you take the time that you've had over the last year, 18 months, and take tomorrow or this evening after this podcast and really think about what's important to you and what are you being led into by marketing rather than a money mindset, because I think marketing is more powerful than a money mindset now. I think the mindset around money is weak and the draw of marketing strong.
What role would you say social media plays in this this attitude that we have towards money?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, I'm of a different generation, and I was doing a course the other day about influencer marketing, and they asked the question, who do you follow online? And I don't really follow that many people. I follow friends, I follow people that I know, and I follow one or two people that are either interesting or funny. Yet my daughter, who's sort of 20 years younger than me, she follows celebrities, and the celebrities wear dresses. And so I went round to my daughter yesterday and she tried on a dress and she says names and I just like smile and nod at her because I haven't got a clue who she's talking about. But, you know, this woman, blah, blah, put this dress on and she saw the dress. She loved it. She immediately went online and bought it. And what's really nice, says my daughter, is that this woman is loaded, but she still buys clothes from, you know, these affordable online sort of ASOS, Boohoo, all of those types of companies. And I'm thinking what you're missing is she was probably gifted that dress. I doubt that she bought it. She was gifted that dress and she's paid to put it on her social media because young people then go, oh, look, that's a nice dress. It's being worn by someone that I feel influenced by. And it's the influencer marketing now that is, I don't know, almost manipulating the minds of a generation. So yeah, powerful stuff, social media.
It sounds like you went shopping with your daughter and in the process you burst a few bubbles for her.
Oh no, I didn't tell her. There's no point. Why get into an argument or a deep discussion like that? You know, I'm just happy to be sitting around there holding my grandson, and if she wants to try on clothes and show me, then you know I'm grateful that she's asking my opinion. The dress was lovely. I don't need to burst her bubble about marketing influence at the background, because actually what she is good at is she's good at the Excel spreadsheet side of money. So she's bought that dress, but what she did was she bought maybe 4 dresses, tried them on, and then knows in her brain what her budget for clothes is. So she's got enough money to pay her bills, and she's got her more than enough money budget to buy the things that give her pleasure, other pleasures. And she had her budget for a couple of dresses, and we picked the 2 dresses out of the 4 and she sent the rest back. So she's managing her money. And therefore, because she's coming at it from managing her money, she's controlling, if you like, the unconscious spending that social media wants you to participate in. And that's the thing. I've written about that somewhere. I can't remember if that was in an article recently. But, you know, if you're going to constantly buy in an unconscious state where you just buy things because it's habit, or buy things because, I mean, I stood in front of or behind a woman in a queue the other day, and while we were in the queue and the queue was really long, and so we were trailing our way through the racks, she just picked up 2 more items. And I had to say to her, I said, you're spontaneously buying now. You're in a buying frenzy. She said, yes, I know. No, she didn't though, not till I said so. And how much stuff do we buy when we go supermarket shopping? That's another trick my daughter's got. She buys her food shopping online so that she can control her budget. Whereas I would go to the shops and I go out for one thing and come back with 5 things because, you know, I will spontaneously food shop, whereas you can't do that when you're shopping online.
Isn't it weird? And even our vocabulary, the way we talk, is all geared towards being a consumer. I remember hearing a few years ago that, you know, that there's something terrible has happened in the world and people are going panic buying. Yes. And I thought to myself, what a ridiculous, I mean, you know, the world's coming to, there's been a big avalanche. I'm going to go look for my Argos card. No.
I know. It is crazy stuff, isn't it? But I think if you bring this back to this whole, if you like, half the conversation we're having is around money, the other half of the conversation is around a wealthy life. I just feel like one of the things that I have been doing probably since about 2015, I've been before that helping people invest in property, and as part of that realized that they didn't understand the money that they were getting involved in. You know, to buy a property, yes, you're putting down a 25% deposit, certainly in this country, and you're then taking out 75% debt. So you're taking on a massive debt in the hope that the little bit of money that you've invested will make money for you. That's a big maths question that you really need to understand. If you're not managing your personal finances, how can you then successfully manage a property investment or any other form of investment? So then I started to go back and started to have the conversation with people about, all right, before we actually talk about investing in property, can we talk about your personal finances? And I make them fill out a spreadsheet, and there's always things that I can find in the spreadsheet that are a surprise to the clients. And then we have that conversation. And I suppose that's the bit where you were maybe alluding to mindset before, whereas I'm thinking it's about spending habits. And then once we've got through that, then I started to realize clients were coming to me, and predominantly male, saying this, that they want to give up work because they're missing their children. And that makes me deeply sad. The fact that there are parents out there, as I say, mostly men, but some women too, who are so unhappy at work and unhappy with society's stereotype that they've landed on them, the breadwinner. that the man has to go to work. Man, hunter-gatherer, man must protect family, you know, out there going to work all the time, earning money, maybe not getting any satisfaction in the job. And I think that the workplace has dramatically changed over the last 10 years, you know, work more, they're getting their emails on their phones, if they're sitting on a train in the commute, they're still doing their emails, and they're getting home, they're still being answered questions and everything else. There's no escape from work at all. And then they're in a position where they're missing their time with their family. And I watched one clip or read one post where we were talking about a wealthy life and why people invest in property. And this man said, I thought that I needed to provide for my family. And now my children have conversations with me about events that I don't remember. And I know it's because I wasn't fully present. I was focused on work instead of focused on my family. And that makes me sad.
Well, I think we can all relate to that, Vicky. Very, very wise words indeed. But hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break and come back to our conversation in a few minutes. This week's Boss Star performance is from British author and entrepreneur Chris Barres-Brown. Now, Chris is best known for his books Free, Love Your Work, Love Your Life, Wake Up and Shine, and he was Penguin's best-selling author in 2014. In 2010, Barres-Brown established the consultancy Upping Your Elvis. What a great name, Upping Your Elvis. The organization collaborates with Nike, Unilever, Britvic, Diego, The Guardian, blah, 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 Mediacom, even ITV to increase the energy and creativity of the workforce. But when Chris isn't making, molding and mobilizing public opinion, he's producing some incredible music. Here he is, Chris Barres-Brown, singing Come On Lady. Listen to this.
Drive me crazy. It's nothing new. Don't wanna be anywhere if anywhere ain't with you, no. When you come around, my fists take flight.
I'm Brian Stolley, founding partner of Wildcat Venture Partners.
Hey, Tanja Lee here, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. I'm a leadership and mindset specialist for real estate and property professionals.
Hi, I'm Jonathan from Amplify.
Hi, I'm Johnny Combe, CEO of Pay by Phone UK.
I'm Kenneth Hafianyo, the founder of Jogwefa, an ethical fashion brand based in Ho, Volta region, Ghana. My Friday is never the same without Kizzy's Friday Game Changers.
Come on, lady, come on down. I want to show you around my side of town. Well, come on, lady, come and play. I want to show you my perfect day. This world we're living in, it makes no sense. People are so uptight, intense. When you come around, my panic goes. I love you, girl, from your head down to your toes. Yeah, what you do makes everything okay. The light in your eyes makes my darkness go away. Yeah, yeah. What you do makes everything alright. Yeah, when you're near
LA, Chief Explorer at Cat Explorer, and I love listening to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers.
Hi, my name's Jenna. I'm the founder of Jenna Hope Nutrition and co-founder of the Yogurt and Juice Network. Jenna Hope Nutrition is a nutrition consultancy business where we help individuals, brands, corporate companies and the media to provide smart, simple and sustainable nutrition advice. As the founder and co-founder of two companies, I'm forever working across a range of different things: marketing, delivering services, sales, PR, managing our accounts, and so much more. So, therefore, managing my time is absolutely essential. The Yogurt and Juice Network is a nutrition education business where we focus on nutrition education in children, and we actively inspire and empower children, parents, and teachers in the UK to make healthier dietary and lifestyle choices. Throughout my time as an entrepreneur, I've learned not to fear knocking on people's doors, to stay true to yourself and not to let anyone take advantage, and more importantly, not to give up at the first hurdle. Throughout my time, I've had many people doubt me. As a young female in business, I've definitely had experiences where people don't take me seriously and try and take me for a ride. But what I've learned is that you have to stay true to yourself, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to keep going. If you stop at the first hurdle, then you simply won't succeed. There will be multiple times where people question you, doubt you, tell you that you're not good enough, that you're not old enough, that you don't have experience, and that you simply won't succeed. But the truth is, if you keep going, you keep knocking, and you don't take no for an answer, you really will succeed. So, to any budding entrepreneurs out there, I encourage you to get up, go, seek your dreams, follow everything you want to do, because life's too short not to. It's vital that you don't give up, you don't stop at the first hurdle, and you just keep going.
You're listening to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers, the world's #1 business podcast experience. Listen, learn, and innovate.
Welcome back. Before the break, you're listening to Chris Barrows-Brown, founders of Upping Your Elvis, and Chris was singing Come On Lady. I'm in the studio talking to property expert Vicki Wusche. I knew I'd get that right. And Vicki, I know you won't believe this, but I'm in my mid-40s now. Somebody just shouted, right, okay, I'm in my late 40s, right? And I'm thinking about retiring at some point, but I'm not sure how I know how to do this. What are the key principles of a wealthy retirement? How can I get this right?
Well, I think the first thing is don't use the word retirement, because if you look up the definition of retirement, it's a French word. It's to withdraw. And it seems to be something that we think that we do when we're about 65 to 70, right? What it was designed for when it was first invented was a time when you would be given a pension by your employer because you were no longer, in those days, physically fit enough to do the work. And the idea was that they set this age in the hope that you would have worked yourself to death before you ever get to retire, so that then they wouldn't have to pay you the pension or the retirement payments. And that's not what you want to do. You've just said to me you're in your, we'll go with mid to middle.
Let's go for early 40s.
Yes. You're in your early 40s and you're thinking about this. I'd actually ask the question the other way around. What does retirement mean to you? When you say that, I'm thinking about retiring. What does that mean to you? What is it that you would be doing if you were, inverted commas, retired?
Blimey, my missus would go crazy at my answer to your question, but the reality is I probably would be doing what I'm doing now, but I wouldn't be doing it for money.
Well, there you go. Right. So that's the first thing. So therefore, the word retirement is wrong. What you want to do, if I can maybe put some words into your mouth, is get to a position where you don't have to work for money. Your money comes from however it comes, and we can come to that in a minute. Your money comes from however it comes, and you are now free to choose your time and spend your time as you will. And for most people, particularly entrepreneurs and small business owners like us, we love what we do, which is why we're doing it anyway. So we will carry on doing it. We just maybe will do it 2, 3 or 4 days a week, not 5 days a week. And that's why I say I'm already retired. I currently work about a 3.5 day week. I have 1 day off a week with my grandchildren where we go out for walks and we visit places and we make memories that will be more valuable than any toy or gimmick or anything else. And we have the photographs to remind us of those wonderful occasions and little video clips and everything else. And then I have a half day where I go and visit my mum who's in a care home. And that's how I choose to spend my time. And then finish the day quite early. I don't like working much after 4 or 5 o'clock. So I work a 3.5 day week. So by my maths, I have created my wealthy life. I have enough. In fact, I have more than enough money to cover our living expenses and live the way that I want to live at the moment. That doesn't mean to say that in a couple of years, I won't decide to make our lives more expensive by something that I want to add to our lives. And therefore I will adjust how I work in order to take on that extra cost. But right now I can work 3.5 days a week, earn more than enough money, and therefore spend my time doing what I love, which is helping people understand their relationship with money and how they can create their wealthy lives, which I've done for me, and spend time with my grandchildren because they're only 15 months, then 16 months, then 17 months once. And I'm, with them when they first walk and when they first laugh and when they first roll over and all of that sort of stuff. And then time with my mother because, as the generations get older, how much time have I got with her? So I wanted to prioritize her as well.
So following on then from what you've said, it sounds as though the reality is that the only really truly valuable thing that money can buy us is choice.
Yeah, I think, is it that money buys us choice or money gives us the ability to choose? I don't know if that's quite the same thing, because I think that the way you've said it, by saying the word money buys us choice, that implies that you are
there's a transaction
consuming. Yeah, you are then consuming something, and that the thing that you consume has a cost, and that's why you need money. It's actually the absence of consuming that gives you money. Now, I'm not saying that, right, okay, in order to be wealthy, you've just got to stay at home, grow your own veg, not go out anywhere. We still have holidays. I mean, we've got a holiday coming up next week. We've got a holiday the month after. We've got, these are going to be in the UK because we're choosing not to travel abroad. And then we're already planning a big holiday for next year for the entire family. So we're still having what I would consider to be expenditure in the luxury column. It's not a frugal life. We have our takeaways, and I've just, went to the shops yesterday and bought some clothes for the first time because finally could go to the shops and buy clothes. I think it's about priorities. I think if you decide what's important to you, and for younger people without children, staying at home with kids isn't going to be an issue for them, is it? So their priorities are going to be different. And it might be that they want to save money to invest. Maybe they want to buy their first house. Maybe they want to create a business that enables them to travel. Fine, whatever it is. And then you move on to another stage of your life. So then you meet a partner. Maybe you do want to get a place together. Then you've got a partner and you've got your place. Maybe you do want to have a family. So now you want to change your columns of expenditure. And now what you want to do is create enough money so that you can afford, because they are expensive, afford to have children and buy the things that you need for the children, but also enjoy the children by being able to buy yourself out of work, have the time at home with them. And maybe you don't want to stay at home with them. Maybe you want a childcare. So then you've got to afford that. But if you come into all of this deciding how you want your life to be, you can actually, once you grasp maths, work out, well, that's roughly going to cost me $2,000 a month or $2,500 a month or $1,500 a month or $5,000 a month, whatever your number is. And then go, okay, I need, and we'll just pick in the middle, $2,500 a month. How can I earn that money? How many hours do I have to work? Or can I work 3 hours in a job and have 2 hours 2 days, 3 days in a job and 2 days a week that I work on my own investments that produce, additional sources of income, but actually don't take a full 2 days so everything's fine.
So I'm just taking notes as you're speaking to me here. I'm just trying to remember all of this stuff because this is really, really powerful stuff. And I think that this is a sort of conversation that has the potential to change lives.
So let me recap the points there, because it does fit into those 5 principles I said to you before. Get clear, have clarity about how you want to live your life. Then do the maths, get in control of your finances. And then, of course, if you've got enough money at that point to live the life you want, you're sorted. But if you haven't got enough money to live the life you want, then start to look at the resources you have around you, those you have and those that you can access. And by that, I mean, when we started out investing in property, we spent the little bit of money that we had, and then I wanted to carry on investing. So I went and spoke to my parents who had a mortgage-free property, as a lot of older parents do have. And we borrowed money from my parents to grow our property portfolio that generated money for all of us, and eventually a little bit of capital gain. But we had the cash flow to live the lives that we wanted. So that's your resources, and that's the leveraging, in my case, is through property investment. But equally, you could set up your own business. You could buy into other businesses. I'm not a super fan of Forex trading and shares because I feel that is a job in its own right. That's not an alternative investment for me, because you have to pay attention if you're going to do it properly. You've got to watch the stock market every day. You've got to watch the currency prices every day. Now, that's okay, but don't think to yourself that is, I don't like the word passive, but that is a time-free or little time investment. That's a full-time investment strategy. Whereas for me, property investment, once you've bought the property, you are just dealing with a repair if it comes in. That doesn't take too long if you've got a team, and you're just monitoring for the rents to come in once a month. So it doesn't take a lot of time, which means if I'm going to work 3 days a week in my business, then I've got 2 days a week to be with my family. I only need a couple of hours a week, if that, to manage my portfolio. Okay, so clarity, do the maths, look at the resources you already have and leverage them. Okay, I've got that. We're at the past, present and future part of the show. Now, what this means is that I'm going to ask you 3 questions about your business past, your business present and your future. And if we get this right, the answers should give us a unique insight into the mind of game changer Vicki Wusche. Are you game? Oh, I'm definitely game. Excellent. This is going to be a lot of fun. Look, Vicki, you've got to imagine you can hear a clock ticking in the background. That's the sound of time passing by second after second. Imagine yourself traveling back in time to meet the young Vicki Wusche. Now, what would you tell young Vicki to make sure she does business-wise, and what would you tell her to make sure she never does? I would say trust yourself and buy, obviously I'm going to say this, buy more property. So when you start out investing, I should have put more money into property right at the beginning, because I was right and I should have trusted myself then. And I think what I would tell myself is not to doubt myself. People around you are always going to look at what can go wrong, but you're the one who is doing the actual calculations, not speculating, not hearsay, not gossip, not opinions. You are looking at the spreadsheet, so you understand the risks. So go with your gut and don't listen to others' idle opinions unless they're grounded in research. You know, I can't imagine you being one of those people that doesn't have any confidence in themselves. But in your answer to that question, you said the same thing in 2 different ways. You said, trust yourself. And then you also said, don't doubt yourself, which kind of adds up to the same thing. I'm wondering, when you were a young Vicki, did you have those issues where you didn't have enough confidence in yourself? I think I probably had a lot of confidence, but I experienced a lot of doubters or naysayers. So, for example, at primary school, I was told that I asked too many questions. I think to put your hand up in school and ask questions is brave, is something that someone who is confident would do. I don't think someone who was a wallflower would put their hand up, but I would get told off in my school reports for asking too many questions. Is that not the point of school? If you can't ask questions when you're at school, where can you? And I was very, I think, ahead of my time. I often feel that ahead of my time by investing in property, and people were going, oh no, there's going to be a crash. But I understood the maths. So I invested, and it didn't matter that the market crashed because my properties continued to pay the rent. Didn't matter what the capital value was doing. I was still getting the cash flow, which was what the point was. And I've found that quite a lot, that I feel that I go against the grain. And so your point to me was, what would I tell myself? And I'm not telling myself because I think I lacked confidence. I would tell myself so that I was a voice on the pro and positive side of the scales to outweigh the weight of the people that didn't think that I was making the right decisions or didn't think that I was doing the right things. That always weighed much heavier. So I had to walk through thicker custard, or I've lost the metaphor now, but you know where I'm trying to go with this. In my journey, I felt was I had to push more than was necessary because of the weight. Let's think of them as balls and chains. And what I'm saying is just cut the balls and chains off. They were wrong. You were right. Just go for it.
I like that. I'm not sure if I preferred the walking through custard or cutting off the balls and chain. I'm going to go for the custard analogy because that sounds... Yeah, that's less painful.
Yeah, no, I definitely would go for the custard. But actually, you don't walk through custard, do you? You walk on it.
Yeah.
Because it's that special substance.
And there'd have to be a lot of custard for you to actually walk on it in the first place.
Yeah, a swimming pool full, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I'm now completely lost.
Yes. You were asking me questions, if that helps.
Okay, but I'm just thinking, this goes back slightly to our earlier conversation before the break, where I said, I asked the question of how much of our attitudes are inherited from our parents. Because from what you're saying, it sounds as though when you were a kid, and I'm pretty sure we've all experienced this, that it's the peer pressure. It's what we're told by our parents, our teachers and our friends about what's possible, what's right is wrong, and what's right or wrong. Because often we've got an idea of something that we think, but everybody else says something to the contrary. And it's so tempting to just listen to what everybody else says because you're going with the flow, aren't you?
Oh, totally. I don't think that it was my parents particularly. I think it was strangers. And I think that's what's interesting, maybe as an insight to people that are listening. Who is it that is telling you no or holding you back or saying you're wrong? Are they actually people that matter to you? So depending on the circumstance you're in, if it's business, maybe your mentor is the most important person, whereas your best friend who, and I'm just making this story up, who just works in a supermarket and has no entrepreneurial skills or entrepreneurial desires is going to say starting a new business is risky. But if you're actually speaking to a business mentor and they say you've got a great idea, go for it, then that is the person that you want to listen to. And if you are thinking about investing in property and you're working with somebody who's a property expert, be cautious because sometimes they're just telling you things that you want to hear. But, are they telling you the right things? Whereas a conversation down the pub, it could go either way because the person down the pub may actually have a massive portfolio. So you need to check who's saying things to you. And certainly people at school, and with due respect to some of the school teachers, they weren't helping. Whereas I did feel supported by my parents.
Yeah, I think a lot of us will agree that that's a very common experience. And for us lucky ones, we did have people around us who kept pushing us forward, or at least helping us see that we were right and maybe everybody else could be wrong. That was the past taken care of, which I knew it would be with sublime ease. Let's move into the present. Vicki, when things are not working as well as they should do, when you've made that investment and it's tanked or it looks like it could go pear-shaped, what keeps you motivated? How do you stay focused?
I'll always go back to the spreadsheet. If that's the specific example that we're looking at, I would always go with the spreadsheet, go with my instincts, take a pause before making a decision. And I would sometimes walk away for an hour and then come back and make the decision, or the rest of the day if I could, and make the decision. But I also think that for me, I'm so fortunate to have a wonderful partner in Bob that I would talk it out with him. So to talk it out with someone that you trust. And sometimes Bob has an opinion, but sometimes I don't actually need his opinion. I'm just using him as someone to talk to. So sometimes speaking it out to someone gives you the clarity that you need to find the answer and the solution to overcome, to stay focused, to stay motivated. But I also feel that all the way along through everything that I do, from health, wealth, lifestyle, everything, for me now that I've had grandchildren, obviously I didn't have them. I set the process in motion, but now that we're lucky enough to have grandchildren, is to just be aware of them and how I want to be present in their lives. So I want to have the time to be with them. I want the time to the memories. I want to live a long and healthy life so that I can meet my grandchildren's grandchildren. And mathematically, providing my grandchildren cooperate, it is possible.
So if you could have one superpower, Vicki, what would you have?
Oh, time travel. Oh, I am obsessed with Did you ever watch the movie The Time Machine? Now, there was a 1950s or 60s version without all the sci-fi, and then there was a remake of the movie The Time Machine. And I remember watching that as a kid. And the thing that interests me is it's not so much about, Machiavellian manipulations or any of that, because there's plenty of other time travel type programs, but it's the ability. And now what I've worked out is the time machine has to be some form of drone come helicopter machine so that you can be above the ground and get the perspective. But I like to think, how did this road get formed? Where did these houses come from? Why did this road go here? Why are those houses like that and these houses like that? What was the original? And if you took out the newest infill and then you took out the next newest infill, what were you left with? And what did this town look like 50 years ago, 100 years ago? And just looking at how we have reached where we are can give us insights of how to get to where we want to go with both a smoother, less impactful, if you want, journey, so that we're not having a negative impact on the world around us by learning the lessons from the past. And I think that's what we need to do. One of
the best books I've ever read was a novel called Up the Line by a guy called Robert Silverberg. And it was based on the idea that time travel is now a reality in this world. And people were using it as a form of tourism. They were able to go back to different parts of history to actually see how things really happened, so that they could learn the lessons of the past straight from the horse's mouth. What a great idea, eh?
I'd love it. I would be up for that. I think I would, if I was given the choice between time travel and being an astronaut, while I would love to look back and see the entire Earth, I would choose time travel. Definitely. Love it. And there are so many people I'd like to go back and, leaders, key figures that we've got, particularly some of the women, Elizabeth I, who was sort of like the longest reigning female monarch, Victoria, Queen Victoria, that sort of stuff, to go back and look at the pressures on them, the decisions that they've made, but even go further back than that, Cleopatra, go back to the Romans. I'd love it. I'd love it. Can you make that happen?
I'm going to make a call because I know a guy.
Perfect. Thank you.
Done. Done. Okay, well, that's the past and that's the present. Let's go into the future, Vicky. We're going to be traveling, let's say, 100 years into the future. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to be around in 100 years' time, but with all this energy you've got, you probably will be. When people are talking about you in 100 years, what would your legacy be? What would you like to be remembered for?
I'd love to change the education curriculum. I wish I could. I wish I could work out a way to change the education curriculum so that future generations learn about money. And families are not destroyed by the unnecessary stress of debt. It's just a maths equation that if people understood the maths, they wouldn't have to get into debt. Now, please don't all phone and write in and go, oh, yeah, you're a privileged property investor, blah, blah. You know, you don't know what it's like to be on benefits. I do. I've been on benefits. That's how I started. When my marriage broke up, I was on benefits with 2 children in social housing, and that was all I had. And then I worked out how I could apply for a grant so that I could go to university. And there were times when the money didn't come through. So I had to save the money up in order that I would have the money for when the payments were always late, and I budgeted. And that's where I got my obsession with money and budgeting and understanding, if you like, cash flow in a business term. And if I can do it, anyone can do it, right? I didn't do well at school. I did well at O-levels because I just sat at the back of the room and did my own thing. But when it came to A-levels, I was a proper dunce. I don't know how I got to university. But again, once I got to university, I was able to study in my own way and ended up with a first-class degree. So school taught me that I was stupid, that I was a failure. But I brought up my 2 children through living on benefits into getting myself a job, getting redundant, into creating a business, and then to building a property portfolio so that we can live and enjoy the lives that we do. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I want to change the curriculum so that no family has to struggle through a lack of maths skill, that they can work out what's important and they can afford it and they can prioritize and they can be together and not be rowing over stupid stuff like money. That's not important. That's not what's important in life.
As you're speaking, I'm pretty sure that people listening to this conversation will be saying to themselves, oh, how can one person change the education curriculum? But I think we touched on this earlier in our conversation before the break. And I think the idea is that if you think that one person, or if you think you're too small to make any changes or any difference, try spending a night with a mosquito in your room. It doesn't matter how small you are, it doesn't matter how many of you there are, you can make a difference. And I've got a feeling that people like you, Vicky, are the ones that bring about the changes that the world really, really needs.
Yeah, it's just dropping a stone in the pond, and then those ripples move. You know, I could through this podcast reach one of your listeners who comes and gets in touch with me, and I help them understand their maths, and who knows who they're connected to and what difference that makes. Or that they then teach their child and their child becomes the next education minister or finance minister. You don't know. You never know the ripple of your actions and what they'll touch. I bet when Greta Thunberg did that first strike that she did on the Friday, where she felt so moved that the only thing that she could do was to put a placard up and be outside that council and say, look, we need to do something about climate change. I bet she never thought they'd be making TV programs about her and that she'd be standing in front of the leaders of the world talking to them about climate change. It could be you. It could be any of us. We could be the next one that make the change in health, in transport, in social care, in elder care, in finance, in anything. We all have the power to make the change that we want to see happen. You just don't know when you drop that pebble in how quickly it will reach the shore. But have the faith that if you keep dropping the pebbles in, some of them are going to reach the shore, and maybe that'll happen in your lifetime, I hope.
Very wise and inspiring words. I've got a note here saying that we've gone over our deadline as I thought we would do. This conversation could go on for at least another good couple of hours, and perhaps we should try and get together again later on this year for a part 2 to our chat. What do you think?
Love it, Kizzy. Absolutely. Anytime you want to invite me back, I'll be there. I've really enjoyed speaking with you.
Fantastic. Me too. Before I go, I've just wanted to ask, is there anybody out there listening to our conversation that you want to say hello to?
Well, I think after all of their sort of like name drops, it's got to be to both Bob, who I hope is maybe got out in the garden and had a bit of a chill time, and to the grandchildren, to Amelia, who's 4, she'll probably still be at nursery at the moment, and to Theo, who's 16 months. Neither of them, I think, are probably podcast listeners, but I hope that one day they're going to listen to this podcast and know how much their Nonna loves them and how much everything that I do is for them.
Done. Vicki, it's been an amazing experience getting to spend some time with you on Kids Friday Game Changers. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and your wisdom.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Kizzy. I've loved speaking with you. Thank you very much.
Well, the time I've spent with Vicki has made me realise that our economic security doesn't lie in our job. It doesn't. It lies in your own power to produce, to think, to learn, to create, and to adapt. True financial independence, that's what it is. It's not about having wealth. It's having the power to produce wealth. A good financial plan isn't a roadmap that shows us exactly how the choices we make will impact us today, but a good financial plan is a roadmap that shows us how the choices we make today will affect our future. This is a lesson that game changers like Vicki Wusche are teaching us every day. Listen, learn, and innovate. Playing us out is Suzanne Noble of Advantages of Age performing My Handyman. See you next week.
Whoever said a good man was hard to find, absolutely, positively, sure was blind. I've got the best that ever was. Here's just...
Hi, I'm Dr. John DeMartini, and you are listening to Kizzy's Friday's Game Changer.
He shakes my ashes, greases my griddle, churns my butter, strokes my fiddle. My man is such a handy man. He threads my needle, creams my wheat, heats my heater, he chops my meat. My man is such a hand.
Hi, I'm Ludwina Dordovic, the founder and CEO of The Room Exchange, and you're listening to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers. Listen, learn, and innovate.
He sure is good to have around. When my furnace gets too hot, he's right there to cool my temper down. For everything, he's got a scheme. You ought to see the new starter he puts on my machine. My man is such a handy man. He flaps my flapjacks, cleans off the table. He feeds the horses in my stable. You can't get away from it. He's such a handy man. He really is God's gift, you know. Sometimes he's up long before dawn, busy trimming the rough edges of my lawn. Oh, you gotta love it. He's such a handy man. never has a single thing to say when he's working hard. You really ought to see the way he handles my front yard. My ice doesn't get a chance to melt away. He sees that I get a fresh piece each and every day. My man